Let's start off, Dalton, with the Indiana game, actually. The Indiana-Oregon game. Indiana, again, destroying Oregon. 56-22 was the final score of this game. Let's go over the highest grade players, starting off with the Indiana Hoosiers. Highest grade player for them was their wide receiver, Elijah Surratt. Talk about him in just a second. He had an 84.1 grade in this game. Tyreek Tucker, the defensive tackle, 76.5. Another wide receiver here in Charlie Becker, 75.6. Riley Nowakowski, the tight end, 74.3. Edge rusher Mikhail Kamara, 70.2. And the Heisman Trophy winner, and according to Walt in the chat right now, the future Las Vegas Raiders quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, with an 81.4 grade in the victory. Let's go over to Oregon with their highest grade players in the loss. Jaden Kennedy, their star corner, 77.6. Wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan, 70.9. Tight end Jamari Johnson, 70.6. Running back Jay Harris, 70.6 as well. Got a lot more run than he usually gets in the college football playoff semifinal. Edge rusher Tatum Tuioti, 70.2, and Dante Moore, who a lot of people think right now is competing with Mendoza to be the number one overall pick. Well, Mendoza was far better in this game. Dante Moore with only a 50.4 grade in the loss. Dalton, really what told the story of this game, and it really was over in the first 30 minutes.
It was unbelievable. Two teams of this type of quality played, right? Especially Oregon is the number 5 team in the country, and this was a much closer game, obviously, the first time around, and yet you had a game in the college football playoff semifinal that was over by halftime. And to be honest with you, there was something in my gut that told me it was over at the D'Angelo Pons pick 6. I know Dante Moore responded with a really nice touchdown drive to tie it up, but it just felt like the way this game started, Indiana made a statement from front to back. And look, credit Kurt Cignetti, credit Mike Shanahan, the offensive coordinator, Brian Haynes, the defensive coordinator. Just a perfect game plan. Oregon had no answers for anything, for the physicality, for the run game, for Mendoza and the receivers, and Mendoza was just making perfect throws all night. He was unbelievable once again. You want a fun fact on Mendoza real quick? These 3 postseason games, all right, against Ohio State, Alabama, and now Oregon, okay? In our grading system, we have 37 positively graded plays for him in these 3 games, 7 negatively graded plays, and only 2 of those are actually targeted passes. Other ones are fumbles and sacks that he held the ball too long. He's basically missed 2 throws in the last 3 games, which is just ridiculous. So, I mean, when you consider the level of competition he's dealing with here in the secondaries he's had to play. But this was just a dominant effort, right? Oregon with 3 first-half turnovers, including that pick 6, led to 21 points for Indiana. And really, at the end of the day, what Indiana does best is, 1, they're so well-rounded, and 2, they don't make any mistakes. They don't screw it up, and they just wait for the other team to screw it up. It almost had that old New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady feel, right, where they just beat you into submission and wait for you to make your own mistakes. It was an unreal effort, and the fact that they get this far in, and they're playing a team for the second time, and they have this game over by halftime, and it's a blowout like this. I mean, how can you not say they're the best team in the country, right? There's a reason Miami's a decided underdog. Not that they don't have a chance, especially with the trench play that they have, but this Indiana team is unreal, man. They just have everything, and they played just about a perfect first half.
And you look at Dante Moore's PFF grade in this game, again, a 50.4, 48.4 passing grade. Now, the only 2 games this year where Dante Moore had a sub-50 passing grade were against Indiana. And in fact, those 2 games against Indiana, he had a 45 passing grade across those 2 games. He had a 92.8 passing grade across the other, whatever it was, 12 games that Oregon played this year as well. So Dante Moore, he struggled in this one. That's my stat too, that tells the story, Dalton. It's all about the first half, honestly, in this game. First half turnovers, really, for me. For Oregon, this game was over because of the mistakes that Oregon made in this one. A lot of them were honestly self-imposed mistakes too by Oregon. First play of the game, Dante Moore throws a pick 6 to D'Angelo Pons. Great play by D'Angelo Pons. So it was already 7-0 on the first play of the game without Mendoza even touching the football right there. So Indiana was up 7-0 right there. Later on, second quarter, Indiana was up 14-7. Dante Moore wound up to throw, and his hand hit the running back in Dier Hill. That ball was recovered by Mario Landino at the 3-yard line, and Indiana scored a few plays later to go up 21-7. Later on, in the second quarter when Indiana was up 28-7. Dante Moore held on to the football for just a second too long, and then Daniel Ndukwe sacked him, forced a fumble, again recovered by Mario Landino on the 21-yard line, and Indiana would score about 6 plays later as well to go up 35-7, which was the score going into halftime. And Indiana, they scored 21 points off of Oregon's 3 turnovers in this first half, and they put this game away with those 3 turnovers right there. So great job by Indiana's defense for forcing and recovering those turnovers and giving their offense very, very short fields, and a great job by Fernando Mendoza and the offense for taking advantage of those 3 turnovers. And you said it, Dalton. Indiana, they play pretty much mistake-free football, and they wait for you to mess up. And Oregon messed up 3 times in that first half, and because of that, Indiana stepped on their throat, and the game was over at halftime with a 35-7 lead against them. So Indiana, they're actually the most fundamentally sound football team that we have in college football right now. And what told the story for me in this game was Oregon's 3 turnovers, all in their own territory. One of them pick 6, and then 2 fumbles by Dante Moore. Those 3 turnovers completely killed Oregon in this game.
And for as much as we've talked all year about Oregon and their elite trench units, right? They're so good on the offensive line, dealt with some injuries in this game. They're so good on the defensive line. The only 2 games where they were physically dominated all season were the 2 Indiana games, these 2 losses, right? Indiana not only was the more sound team, they were once again the more physical team. And when you look at Oregon and their performance in pass protection, especially their 2 lowest pass blocking grades of the year have come against Indiana. Dante Moore was sacked 10 times in the 2 Indiana games. He was only sacked 9 times the rest of the season, right? It's just this team right here, right? And there's a lot of people getting on Dan Lanning about, you got blown out in the play. Look, they made the Final Four. This is a really successful season, especially with, for him, a first-year starting quarterback in Dante Moore. And they just ran into a team that's better than them. I mean, it was closer the first time in Eugene, and there was, more of a defensive slugfest there. But this game, Indiana just made a statement from the very first play, and it never stopped.
So certainly not a great game for Dante Moore as he tries to make his case to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft, but Dalton, the guy who most likely will be the number 1 overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders, Fernando Mendoza, once again with a great performance.
I would put that right there at about a 97% chance right now. If you wanted to put it in pen, I wouldn't blame you, because he has just played perfect football the last 3 games, honestly. There was a couple of fumbles in this game, but other than that, he was just outstanding. 87.6 passing grade for Mendoza, 17 of 20, 177 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 89.5% adjusted completion rate. Like I said, we only on an actual targeted pass, we only gave him 1 negative grade the entire night. He only missed 1 throw all night. So, 8 of 10 on 10-plus yard throws. He's attacking downfield, more than a 12-yard average depth of target. And again, the moments where he gets man-to-man coverage. In the first half of the season, this was maybe, I've mentioned this, the one last issue for Indiana's offense. Can they win one-on-one? The emergence of Charlie Becker, Elijah Surratt getting healthy, Omar Cooper is always an option. How many different guys scored a touchdown in this game? 6?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was
D'Angelo Pons, Surratt had 2, Becker had 1.
I mean, just ridiculous. The balance this team has, the ability to run the football and balance it out, and really in the second half milk the clock when that's all they needed to do. And then again, these 3 receivers, Surratt, Becker, and Cooper, right now just unstoppable with the way Mendoza's throwing the football.
Yeah, how about Walt in the chat saying this? Mendoza in his 2 playoff games, I believe this is the right stat line, 31 for 36 with 8 touchdowns and no picks. And that's pretty much perfect football right
Isn't
there.
it? Is the stat 8 touchdowns and only 5 incompletions?
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. He's on a burner right now.
And the Ohio State game, too. The entire postseason, he's been incredible.
Even against this Miami defense, you feel like the way he's played the last 3 games especially, how in the world are you going to stop him the way he's throwing? I mean, it feels like he is just not missing anything right now. Every throw is just perfect.
It sure helps when he has a great receiving core to throw to. I believe Indiana had around an 85 receiving grade in this game. I want to shout out Elijah Surratt, who has been his top receiver for this year. He was Indiana's top receiver last year as well. He's a future NFL receiver. He's going to be probably a second-round pick, I would imagine, in this year's NFL draft, and he looked like a future NFL receiver in this game. He caught all 7 of his targets for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 for 3 on contested catch opportunities for Elijah Surratt in this game. He has been one of the best his entire career at boxing out defenders on jump balls. Again, he might not have the speed to go in the first round, but everything else is there for Elijah Surratt to be a productive NFL wide receiver. Whoever takes this guy in the second round in the draft is going to get a very productive, most likely number 2 receiver in the NFL. So again, doesn't really have the speed to go in the first round, but other than that, man, he is a complete wide receiver, and he was just boxing out Oregon defenders who honestly had great coverage on him, but he and Mendoza have a terrific connection, and Surratt was doing an outstanding job on those back shoulder throws to come down with him for Mendoza.
Boy, the Raiders picking number 36 overall also. You might just think about leaving those two guys together, especially what I think the most impressive part, the way those two connect on those back shoulder throws, man. That's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams type stuff from back in the day, really. It feels like they just cannot miss right now. The chemistry between those two, and really Mendoza and all of his receivers, just unbelievable right now, and he's not missing either. But Surratt, man, he's been so good. I mean, you go all the way back to the St. Francis days, James Madison, now 2 years at Indiana under Kurt Cignetti. I mean, he's just a solid football player. And you mentioned it, the only flaw that's going to come out, the 40 time probably won't be some elite number, but he does all the fundamental things right at receiver that you want him to do. He's going to be a solid football player in the NFL.
While asking if Charlie Becker is available in this draft as well, because he's been outstanding for them this year. I don't believe he is. I think he's a true sophomore right now for Indiana.
I think that is correct, but we'll have to check that. I mean, and him too. I think the emergence of Becker ever since that Penn State game when Surratt, and he's going to come back as their number 1 guy next year. I mean, when Surratt went down and he was out for that Penn State game, that was really a pivotal moment, because I know the Omar Cooper catch at the very end is the memorable one, but Charlie Becker made so many big plays in that game, and then Mike Shanahan just decided, you know what, this has got to be one of my guys. He's awesome, and especially him too in contested catch situations. Mendoza, all he's got to do is give these two guys a shot, and they come down with it more often than not.
Oh, while saying Surratt equals Keenan Allen in the chat right there. Don't hate it.
He's probably a little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger.
Boy, I'll tell you too. Some of the box out and some of that. I'm not saying he's going to be this good, but some of the box out, especially on those back shoulders and the way that he runs some of the shorter routes and the craft that he has, man. There's moments where I'm like, boy, that looks a little bit like Michael Thomas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Thomas, in New Orleans, he was just such a crafty route runner. He was another guy, didn't have the blazing 40, but he just found a way to snatch the football out of the air, man. He's got the same vibe.
Real quick before we move on to the Miami and Ole Miss game, I feel like another NFL draft, a conversation we should have right now. Should Dante Moore declare for the draft and leave Oregon this year?
This is a hard one. Because I could see the case either way, right? I think there is a case that he could stay, and it's not like he's not making money over there at Oregon. He could stay, and the Ducks could come back and compete for a national championship next year with Dante Moore in year 2 as their starter. And he does have some development to go, right? And the NFL is becoming less and less of a quarterback development league now. Yeah. You need to be ready, or it's at least going to take some time. It's not going to be, year 1, maybe not year 1 that he jumps into a franchise and turns them around like a Jaden Daniels did right away or something like that. I can see the case either way, but also if you're going to go top 5, right, I'm looking at the New York Jets. I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals. I'm even looking, honestly, I do still wonder, and they need a lot of other things on their offense, I do still wonder if the Cleveland Browns could think about it if he's on the board as well, right? So there's certainly a lot of options in the top 5 to 10 of this draft. He will go that high. It's just a matter of if he wants to do that now or get a little more experience in college, get a little more seasoning.
If you were Dante Moore, would you declare? I would.
I probably would, knowing that he's going to go. He's still probably going to go top 3.
Yeah.
Right? Between the Jets and I think the Cardinals too. I just don't see how he would get by the Cardinals at 3. Mm-hmm. Right? The Cardinals need a quarterback more than anything right now. I mean, there's some other needs, but at the end of the day, if you think this is your guy, and who knows what a new coaching staff is going to think for Arizona especially, but if you're going to get taken that high, if you're going to get taken in the top 10, it feels like you really should come out for the sake of, just your career, and you don't know what happens next year at the college level, right? We've seen plenty of guys this year. We thought Garrett Nussmeier would be a top 10 pick. We thought Cade Klubnik might be up there, right? Drew Aller. You never know what happens in another season of playing football, right? So I think the business decision probably says, yeah. Is he ready to start day 1? I do think there would be at least some struggle. You would look like a rookie coming in. He would. I think there are still some flaws to his game, and I do think if you have and I even think this for Mendoza, if you have offensive line questions, you better get that fixed pretty quickly if you're taking any of these quarterbacks, Mendoza, Dante Moore, or Ty Simpson, because I think all 3 of them, Mendoza's the best of them right now, but all 3 of them still, when they're under pressure, have some issues. I think we saw that a little bit with Dante last night, especially when he's a bit confused. And like I mentioned, 10 sacks in the 2 games against Indiana, only 9 the rest of the season. And he is a quick decision maker, but when he has to hold the football, it looked like it kind of freezes a little bit, right? So you do want your offensive line situation pretty well settled if you're taking any of these guys.
I would declare if I'm Dante Moore. Now, I understand the argument of, listen, you could develop for another year. NFL teams are getting less and less patient with these young quarterbacks, so develop as much as you can in college. But like you said, if Dante Moore I would say he's a lock to be a top 3 pick right now. Even if the Jets pass on him at number 2, which I don't think they would, Arizona would scoop him up at number 3 if he was available there too. And maybe someone else would try to trade up into the top 5 to get Dante Moore if somehow both those teams passed on him, but I don't think that's likely either. And also, you could look ahead to next year's draft. You got Julian Sayin, the quarterback from Ohio State. You got Arch Manning, the quarterback from Texas there too. You got a lot of other really, really good quarterbacks going back to college football next year. Don't know if you want to compete in that class when you're almost guaranteed, I would say he is guaranteed right now, to be at least the number 2 quarterback in this draft behind Fernando Mendoza. So if you're going to be a top 5 pick, man, guaranteed pretty much, you got to leave. I feel like Dante Moore has to leave right now. I understand he might want to come back for another year and finish a job at Oregon and win a national title. But like you said, you just never know what will happen. And looking ahead to next year's class, it looks like a deeper, better quarterback class as of right now too. So if I'm Dante Moore, I would declare, and also, we didn't even mention this, Will Stein's gone. Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, maybe the best offensive coordinator in college football, he's now the head coach at Kentucky right now. So he actually just finished up his job at Oregon last night. He's now the head coach at Kentucky. So yes, Dan Lanning has done an amazing job of finding great offensive coordinators, obviously going from Kenny Dillingham to Will Stein. Both of those guys are Power 4 head coaches right now, and he probably will find another superstar offensive coordinator at Oregon too. But it's a risk whenever you're going under a new offensive coordinator too. So I think the Will Stein part of it should not be forgotten about either for Dante Moore.
Fascinating decision, and we will know for sure by Wednesday. It's going to be the biggest news of the draft sometime this week, is Dante Moore either declaring or staying in Oregon. Going to be a lot of fun to watch.
And I can't wait to see what Oregon does if Dante Moore does declare a quarterback, because there's not that many quarterbacks right now in the transfer portal. So I wonder what Oregon, LSU, a bunch of other schools still looking for that quarterback, what they will do right now. But Indiana, we still have one more game left. Indiana advancing to their first ever national championship game in program history with a 56-22 dominant victory over the Oregon Ducks in the college football playoff semifinals.